Super sick, super sick. So today we are going to make a number float up in front of our camera view. In order to check your camera view, you press and hold the tilde key and you can go to view selected or view camera. That's just my way of doing it. I'm very hotkey oriented, but we want, for ease of access, I want my camera to be pretty much dead on the negative Y axis, pointing that direction. So I want my camera to be here, looking this way directly at that on the same page. We take our camera, we go and we look at the negative Y. We press Control-Alt-0. That snaps our camera to that view. Then we press and hold tilde key, view, camera. Now we go Shift-A, text, rotate X 90. Text is here. Now I can go edit while with the text selected, and it makes it just like any kind of text thing. And we're going to do number 1. Now this number 1, I'm going to select, and we're going to use that other font. Let's try Sego. I like that. That's wonderful. That's fine. That's sportsy. Cool. Tab to get out of edit mode. Now, if you want to keep a non-destructive workflow and you want to change which font you're using later, I would highly suggest going Shift D, and then right-clicking, so you're duplicating that, and then just turn this bottom one off so you just always have it. And then come up to this first one, and I'm probably going to go down to convert to mesh. So now it's a mesh. Now I can go Q, origin to geometry. Don't really like where that's placed. I'm going to hit Tab. Look at how trashy this geometry is. It's pretty crap. Honestly, it's like really bad. This is why I really don't like working with text in and of itself, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, why is this way? This just seems so stupid to me. And it, like, if you try to dissolve these faces or these edges, sometimes it can mess up like the whole mesh. Dissolve edges. See, it just like totally screws it all up, because it's like deleting the vertices as well, which is kind of annoying, not just the edges, which in my opinion, these edges shouldn't even be there. So instead of doing that, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go back to this view. I'm going to hide my camera just so I don't have to see it. And I'm going to we're going to model based off of this one. So we know that this one looks like this. Now we have like something to model off of. Now I'm going to go Shift A, mesh, cube, scale, GX, something like that, GZ. Just get it kind of lined up. Scale X or SX for scale. Now we can go into tab edit mode. I'm going to take this top. I'm going to hit 3 for face select. I'm going to click the top face. I'm going to go GZ, bring this up, and I'm going to hit Alt, click on middle mouse, turn sideways, drag sideways again, just so that I'm looking at it in kind of orthographic view. I'm going to hit, I still have that top, so that top face selected. I'm going to hit GZ again, just bring it all the way up to about the top. That looks good. I'm going to hit Control R to create a loop cut. We're going to set it right about here. And then I'm going to hold Alt down, and I'm going to click and hold middle mouse again and drag. And now we're looking at it from an angle. So we're looking at it from this angle, right? So now what I can do is tab out of this. I'm going to actually extrude this a little bit just so I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go tab for edit mode, all, extrude. Should already be on the Z axis. That's fine. Tab. And now I can just see what I'm doing. Let's look at the left veil. Click on my new box, hit edit again. And now I'm going to hit Shift Z This is going to show me kind of what I'm doing here. Shows a wireframe version. And if you have a number pad, you can hit 6 to look at things at an orthographic, like 100%, like zero perspective. It's all just flat. You can go back and forth that way. You don't need to, but it's just doable. It helps. So we are going to take this face 3. We're going to, actually, I'm going to hit 2, edge select, GZ. No, this should be right there. GX. Bring this back. That's fine. I'm going to go A. Nope. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to go extrude on the X axis. So I'm bringing it out to here. Now I'm going to grab this. I'm going to hit 2. I'm going to grab this top edge. I'm going to go G, X, and we're going to bring it out. And so what I want is these two scaled on the X axis at 0. So I'm going to go scale X 0. And that should make them exactly on the same line, which we will be able to tell from here, which did not work. So yeah, it's not working. Let's go GX0. No comprende. So this is at, I'm going to go Command X, Control Z. I'm going to grab this one, Command, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to go Command V. Boom. Now they're exactly the same. That's a nice thing you can always do. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to probably end up doing a mirror modifier on this anyways, but for now, we're just trying to get a general shape. I'm going to take this, I'm going to go GZ, bring this down. I'm going to take this top one, 2, top, GZ. That's fine. Honestly, not a bad one. If I go like this, that one works on its own. So I can hit H for the other one. I can tilde key, view camera. That's nice. That works as a 1 already. And dude, that geometry is just fine. Just fine. That will unwrap. Super easy. We could clean it up a little bit more, but just for the sake of what we're trying to do and the fact that this is not going to be on screen for very long, we don't have to take it any further. I would like to add some curve to it. I think it would be cool. So let's give that a shot. If it doesn't work out, we can always just undo it. So what I'm going to do with this cube is I'm going to get out of edit mode by hitting the tab. I'm going to go Shift D, close it, and I'm going to hide cube 1. I'm also going to click on it and say simple geo 1. And then I'm going to go simple geo, or I'm just going to go 1 because that's what this is. So now we have an extra one, saving iterations and keeping things named. These two we don't need anymore. These texts, we're probably fine with the way that this is because we're just having fun. It doesn't need to be a specific one. Now, one thing I wouldn't mind doing is taking this, going Control R, clicking on it, and then right clicking to get it centered, kind of going above everything, hitting Shift Z with my box selection tool, selecting everything on one side and hitting X, faces. Oh, Control Z. Hitting 1, X, vertices. Now, hitting Tab, going over here to modifiers and going mirror modifier. And we are not going to do it on this angle. We are going to do it on the Y. So we're mirroring. Shift Z lets you see the box version of it. So now when I make an edit, and definitely turn on clipping. When I make an edit, if I go tab 1, if I make an edit here, it's mirroring it. G, mirroring it. So that just makes it easier. If we make an edit on one side, it's automatically mirroring to the other. Okay, so I ended up doing a bunch of edits to the mesh of the number one, and I didn't need to. So from here on in the video, when I hit edit, you're going to see a whole bunch more geometry on the number one. It was completely useless. It actually didn't need to be done. So to save you an extra 15 minutes of pointless tutorial, I'm just skipping that part. If you want that footage, just reach out and I can send it to you. But it didn't change anything as far as how the texturing and all the rest of the materials go. So we're just going to skip that. Thank you. So now we have a nice one, and now we can start texturing that one. I am still seeing some weird artifacts, but that might just be my computer. So if we go into rendered view, and let's change our render to cycles, this will be using the true lights. So G, Y, light options, spotlight, spot size 40-ish. Don't need it to be massive. Rotate X, rotate Y, rotate Y, G, X, tilde key, view camera. Now let's select this SOB and let's start texturing it. But let's get some animation done first, just so we can see what we're doing. I'm gonna come here to the final frame. Let's do about 120 frames at 60 frames a second. So I'm coming up here to my output and I'm coming down to frame rate. I'm clicking 60 frames per second. I'm going over here and I'm hitting 120, kind of 2-second animation. Works pretty well, but you can always slow it down because it's at 60 frames. So it's just an easier way to work in the, it's just the way I like to work. So here at 120 frames, we're going to hit Control S for save. Then I am going to, with my number one selected, click I, which is setting a keyframe. And then the quick way of doing it is because all we're messing with is location and rotation. So the next hotkey would be O, right? So if you wanted to be quick about it, if your object is in the position you want it to be in, you can just hit IO, and then boom, it's setting a keyframe. Now we come back to first frame, and we are hitting GZ, dragging it down, and we can hit IO. Now with that, we want it to move a little bit more than just come up, right? That's boring as fuck. So now we can come down here, we can go RZ and rotate it to the left a little bit, IO. Come over to the 120th frame, rotate Z, IO. And now it's doing more of a movement, right? Now it's a little bit more cool. But that's also kind of lame. It's still too straight up and down. So let's come over to 1. Let's go rotate XX, because we want it to be on the number one's X-axis. And we're going to rotate it down a little bit. IO. Come back up. Rotate it up a little bit. IO. Control Z on that last one. Control Z. We forgot to rotate it on its X-axis, so that would be kind of goofy. We're going to rotate, because right down here, we have it there. It's going to kind of pop up, but we want it to pop up RXX, rotate, IO, GX, IO. And right here, let's go Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Let's go right here. Yeah. So it's kind of popping up. Control D. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to go GX. I'm going to bring this to 60 frames. So it pops up. And let's go RZZ. So we're on its Z axis. And let's actually rotate it this way. IO 120 RXX. Now it'll be pointing down. RZZ. Now it will be pointing the opposite direction. RXX. And kind of pointing down. RX. Let's have it this way. RXX. Like that. RX. Up. RXX. IO. And the nice thing is we can move it down a little bit with that too. So right here on frame 120, let's go GZ. IO. So now the frame would kind of look like this. And we're going to mess with this animation a little bit. So let's actually bring it up, GZ. Kind of want this still to be, I want it to end middle frame. So let's do that. Let's go IO. Boom, we're going to come here to 60. We're going to go GZ. We'll bring it up. And we can turn on a keyframe there. This might be auto keyframing. Let's see if this is auto keyframing. Yeah, that's auto keyframing. So if you want to just make edits and have it save it as you make edits, that's one way you can do it. One thing I do not like is how much it moves up. See how much it's like GZ. Let's move it up here. That's a lot better. Now we can kind of come in here to these, select them all, click on the timeline or the changer, come down to graph editor, and all I want to see is the Z location, the X rotation, the Z rotation, and that's it. So these are the only things I want to see, because these are the only things that we manipulated. And so let's start with Z location, which is the up and down. So that's all of these keyframes here. And I say, that zooms up and then it slows down. So let's actually have it slow down. I'm going to grab this handle, GX, I'm going to drag it out. So it's going to zoom up pretty fast and then it's going to kind of sit down. Boom. I like that. And now let's go to the Z rotation. We can see here. Whoa. Let's zoom in laterally. I'm going to take this. I almost want to delete this. What happens if I delete that keyframe? That's actually interesting. Let's do that. I kind of like that. But then also let's go GZ. Oh, GX. Really bad. Boom. I like that. It kind of zooms in pretty quick, but it definitely has like this floatiness to it where it's like, oh, fuck, I'm sideways. Totally fine. Now let's go to X rotation. Let's take this. Let's go X on this. Let's delete that one. Let's see how that looks. Now let's take this GX. Let's bring it out. Because at this point, once it lands like right here, what we can do is I can go RZZ we can make it a little bit more like this. I kind of like that a little bit better. I like that a little bit more. So now we go to Z rotation. Yeah, that's fine. That's beautiful. Cool. Now we kind of have some nice keyframes. Everything's pretty happy. We can go back to, let's go to the shader editor. So now let's hit tilde key, view camera. Now we're in our camera view. Let's turn off this overlay so we can kind of just see what we're working with here. Let's go back to here. Let's take this up and get this a little bit more. I like that. That's a little bit better. For that's nice. We got some nice rounded edges. That's wonderful. Now we're out of edit mode. We have this selected. This is our metal material. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, take the metallic up. Let's take the roughness down a little bit. Let us bring in base image. Now you can either drag out from base image and select image texture, or if you have in settings, if you have the Wrangler node add-on, you can just hit Control T and it should add an image in a mapping texture, which clicking on R1, hitting tab, right clicking, and hitting U, and then just cube projection should be fine. Dragging over, and let's change this to UV editor, all U, cube project. Scale to bounds. No, don't scale to bounds. Clip to bounds. No, correct aspect. Cube size. U. Smart UV project. Let's give them some islands. Boom. That works. Let's do that. I like that. Now that we have that, we can click on this. Let's go to our documents. We're going to go assets, stock, textures. I have a bunch of different fucking textures in here, but there's one that I like to use a lot. I got this picture of metal. It's actually this picture of metal right here, but I took it into Photoshop and I took the contrast way down, and so it's much more of a roughness map, if you will. And we're not really going to use it for color as much as we're going to use it for a roughness and a bump. So roughness map, bump, height, normal to normal, sRGB to non-color, and GX, hit play. Very sparkly, very bumpy. We need to take a lot of this bump down. So distance, I go 0.002. Take that bump way the hell down, right? Way the hell down. But then I'm also going to go Shift A, color ramp, converter, put that in here, and we can make this shinier or not shiny or rougher, right? So we can kind of control that. I don't want the shininess to be black because that makes it pure shiny, and nothing in the world is truly that shiny. But I can bring this up, and then I don't like it being pure rough either because there's nothing in the world that's really that rough. And we're gonna have to boost this lighting like a mofo, which is fine. So now that we have that, we have this, we have that, we can start messing kind of with this distance as well. So the way that I'm selecting in between these two is I'm hitting Control Shift and then clicking the node that I want to see, and that should send that node directly into the surface output. Which so if we just want to see the image, this is just the image after color ramp, the bump, etc., which just is kind of cool. Now we can also invert the bump map if we want to change whether things are indenting or sticking out. But for now, what we need to do is we need to go here. Oh, we're in edit mode. I didn't even know. And we need to pop out of this. I'm going to hop over to this style right here. We are going to turn this into a 3D viewport. Tilde key, view camera. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn off these overlays. And we are going to shrink this down to whatever size we got. We just want this to be a little rendered view that we can just reference. So I'll set this to render. Now what I can do is I can be like G, Y. Let's get this light really shining on that. Let's go. This shouldn't have any. Keyframes. I don't know why I was saying keyframe for that. Oh, because I have auto keyframe on. Okay, so let's go back to timeline real quick because I totally forgot about that. Turn auto keyframer off. Otherwise, you're going to be setting keyframes every time you move something, and it's horrible. Okay, let's go back to shader editor here, just so we have it. And when we select this, we can pin this. So even if we click on other stuff, we'll still be editing that. So I'm going to hit, with this light selected, I'm going to hit Shift D. I'm going to go G, Z, and I'm going to take it down, rotate, X, flip it up. G, X, bring it over. G, Y, bring it over. G, Z, rotate it at an angle. Kind of want a 45 degree is what we're looking for. So I'm going to go G, X, out to about here, rotate, 45 degree angle. Boom. Shift D, X, R, Z, another 45 degree angle. Now let's take this one, this top one. I'm going to go G, Y, rotate Z, 180. I did 190, but that's fine. Oh, I didn't duplicate it. That's fine. We're going to go Control Z, Shift D, Y, rotate Z, 180, rotate X, and we're going to come G, X, rotate Z. Get this really nice edge light back here so that when this sucker comes up, we'll be able to see it. Now let's take this. Let's come down. Let's go. Well, let's take this one. Let's go 3,000. Let's brighten that shit up. Actually, we could probably do like 7,000. Boom, something like that. little bit better. And now we can take this, holding shift, this and this, and lastly clicking on this one, right clicking, or no, control L, link object data. So now all of these lights should be 7,000 watts. So just brightened up our scene. So now we have, as we can see here, our one popping up and floating in, and it's settling like right in the middle of our screen. So if you wanted to switch over to a 2D animation, where right when it lands, you have an After Effects comp that kind of like replaces that one and with a match cut, and then a bunch of ones stack, or you want to have like a whatever the fuck you want to do, you can do that. And this is just for a metal material, right? So this metal diffuse, let's go here. Let's go image editor. Let's open the metal diffuse just so you can see what it is. This is the metal diffuse. This is the image that I'm using for all the bumps and all of the roughness, etc., etc. And it's just kind of a decontrasted, low contrast picture of metal plating with some, just low contrast picture of metal plating. And I'm using that for specifically, well, I'm texture coordinates into a vector point to the image because I unwrapped my number one, which again, you have questions about unwrapping, you have questions about how I'm moving stuff, you have questions about duplicating, etc., etc. Those things you're going to have to do your due diligence and watch. I mean, I say complete the Blender Donut tutorial, the Blender Guru Donut tutorial if you're trying to really learn Blender to completion. And watch it a couple times. Watch every episode a couple times before you hop in. Don't just hop in, watch a little bit, do a little bit, watch a little bit, do a little bit. I did try to do that in the past. It was not it. What I found what works the best is I watched the video, each episode 1 to 2 times, 3 times before I actually hopped in. And I just watched it and just take it in, just absorb it. And that helped me. Once I got in and I knew what I had to do, I was already memorized, and not just what he had done, but the hotkeys he was using. And the hotkeys are really what is going to get your workflow super fast. So, yeah, if you have questions or if I'm moving too quick for you, I'll do a smaller breakdown at some point. But there's just so many Blender tutorials on how to use the basic tools and the different shortcuts. It just doesn't make sense for me to go and make those videos again. There's so many great tutorial guys out there that have way better machines than I do, and many more years in the software than I do. They're going to give you more information, better information than I ever could. So that's why I'm not including a lot of the small bits and details. Bing bong. Well, there is our floating one coming in and landing. And like it's a nice material here. This is without an inverted. This is with inverted, which honestly inverted almost looks a little bit better. I think that might actually be the best way to do it. So it's just like a nice, solid metal one with some scratches on it, etc., etc. The last step for animation is going to be animating, right? Rendering it all out. First thing we want to do is make sure that anything that we want to see has both the camera and the little eye on, and anything we don't want to see has both of them off. Since the lights, the camera, and this object right here, are the only things that we want in our final render, those are the only things that we have on here. So once we're sure that we have everything on we need on and everything off that we don't want shown in our final render, we come to render properties and we go down to film. Here we set transparent as our background. And that way our final render will be transparent. So if we are to go to here and look through our camera view, we are going to have perfectly transparent background. In our output settings, we can set our folder and we can do RGB plus alpha, right? So that means it's going to render out just our object, and everything else in the background will be transparent. You can overlay that over any video you want without having to do any masking. So we're going to click in our output folder. We're going to click this down in output. We're going to click this folder. We're going to find the folder that we want to export this to. Roll in V1. Also come up to your render output here in the render section, and we're going to make sure that our max samples are probably no higher than like 150, because this is such a simple animation. There's not much geometry here. There's really only one texture that we're rendering. Very simple. I don't think we're going to need many samples. And so that should be fine. I like to set my render device to GPU compute because I have a dedicated graphics card. And then I also come down to denoise and I make sure that we're using optics because I have a NVIDIA graphics card that is the best denoising. Then I like to come over into the view layer panel and I like to click denoising data. Then I come over to compositing. I click the use nodes. I'm going to click the composite GX, drag it over. Then I'm going to hit Control, or I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to search denoise. We're going to drop that right in between these two. We're going to take the noisy image into image. We're going to take denoising normal to normal, and we're going to take denoising albedo to albedo. And this is going to give us really clean denoising, and it's going to use your graphics card, your NVIDIA graphics card, if you have it, to get really nice clean denoising, and that just ends up working out. Now that we have that all done, we can hit Control Save, come up to Render, and hit Render Animation. Once your animation is done exporting, open Premiere or After Effects, and you're going to import those files as a image sequence. So select one of them, and then down here at the bottom, you're going to click Image Sequence and open. Now you can drag that sequence in to your video, and it should work just fine. Now I'm in a 16:9 aspect ratio edit at currently, so when I bring this in, it will not quite fit, but I can always just go, I can always just go here and scale it down about 50%, and it should pop up just fine. So this is, with transparency in your export, this is what you can get, which is really nice to have. You just play your video and just floats right on top of the screen. So wonderful little tutorial for you guys. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comment section, or hit me up on Instagram, Huckins Johnny P. Have a good one, you guys. Thank you.